So yeah, it was interesting. So different groups of people started to study, they looked at it, they saw when the things were corresponding, and then they started dreaming of it, and people started having openings. So in a sense, he gave the language, but people in the community started to receive it. And then when there was enough agreement and then they started having translation, then he added parts of the translation. But this is how he did it. So whenever he transmits knowledge in Damanhur, he's never done it in a linear way. That's not his way. He's an artist, he's a painter, and a healer, and I guess linear is just not the way he works. So the transmissions has always been like this. Very often through the arts, he transmitted some basic rhythmical structure for the language just by whistling. And then again, people had to figure out how they turn the whistle into how the language will actually be spoken. So it's been a very artistic, a very interesting process. Now, this happened 30 years ago. So now there's many, many people in our community that have been working with this language, not only as a language, also as a dance. So I would invite Qualia. Qualia, would you give them a demonstration? Every ideogram of because Qualia is one of our sacred language dancers, so she does it better than I do, for sure. So every ideogram can be translated into a movement. So we can write with our bodies. We all learn this. So we can use it for healing. You can write with your body healing sentences to yourself. We use it for opening inspiration. For instance, Qualia, would you dance, I open to the light of my inner being.
Yes.
Nal? Yeah, I imagine. Oh, come here so they can. Okay. So show them. I open to the light. This is I open to the light of my inner being. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful translation. So we have ideograms, we have movements, we have sounds, and transliteration so that we can read it. But the language is ideogrammatic. What we have had experience of with the language is this is a language that is not Celtic or Roman, it's much more ancient. It's before the languages were differentiated, and we believe that it's a language of communication also with human intelligence and souls, not only on planet Earth. So we believe that it has cosmic roots. A lot of Damanhur has to do with sci-fi. So we're really looking for this meeting point of the most ancient wisdom of planet Earth with what is really kind of out there in sci-fi. The comic book that I wrote, which is, you can find it in a book called The Traveler Guides to Damanhur, and it's on Amazon, and it tells this story of how the Cosmic Council created different points of our planet, of which Damanhur is one, to change the timelines of the future of humanity, and is now calling to many more of us that have these memories now to activate the memories and really take action.
Thank you.
Thank you for this question.
Is there visions for other communities around the world, around the globe?
We have visions for, especially for connections with other communities around the world. We are very active members of GEN, the Global Eco-Villages Network, which is what unites communities all around the world. We're surely interested in bringing the Damanhur message around the world, but we also really see that what is important in the future is that we have many communities that are different from one another. We really need diversity. We need to be able to recreate peoples, not this uniformity of thinking, dressing, eating that we have now, but really help people create unique expressions of what it means to be divine beings on this journey into physical world of forms here.
There's a really beautiful property. It's like 2,000 acres right now for sale, just up at the top of Sonoma County, and it's not that unreasonable. But recently, that idea of creating a community and dreaming the word Damanhur several times. It's like that's there. I don't know if anybody is interested, or it would be really interesting to talk about the idea, because so many people in this area seem to be connected.
We have a program in Damanhur that is 2 weeks intensive that teaches people that want to create community how we did it. Everything you need to know not to make the same mistake that we made. And to start from where we are now, so that you don't have to do 38 years of experience. And so we're always interested in helping people that have community. But it's important that the people first really take action. One of the things that often people come to us and they say, oh, we want to create community, we want to learn. And we say, good, did you start? What have you done so far? I said, no. At the moment we have a plan, and then we're going to go around and look for money, somebody to give us money. This is not the way to do it. This is not going to change the world. That's the old way of thinking. If you want to create community, you get out there and you do it with what you have, and then the resources will come. But you can't go around and look for other people's money to make and build your own community. It's just not going to work.
Along the lines of the currency, as far as self-containment, like as far as occupations and then import-exports, how much is it self-contained?
It's becoming more now, also because of these choices that we made to strengthen our agriculture. So we have people that had other occupation, they're now being employed more inside the community. I would say that we have, well again, then I have to explain. Damanhur is not a socialist-based community in the sense that the companies that we have, the art workshops that you saw, are not owned centralized in a centralized way. It was like that when it was founded, but then over the years we changed the system to accommodate more growth. So now we have a system which is based on solidarity and personal entrepreneurship. So we all give a percentage of our income to the family where we live, and a part of this goes to the central community. But we're also all responsible and independent for what we're making, what we're earning. So we have created companies that are Damanhurian companies because they've been created by Damanhurian citizens, and because one of their objectives is the growth of the community. So I would say that about 60% of Damanhurians work in community-created or related activities, and the 40% works in activities outside of the community that are not Damanhurian. Among those are very important figures. For instance, our doctors, they all also work outside of the community in the Italian hospitals, because for us this is fundamental for many reasons. One, they can bring their contribution in a different way of thinking about what health and healing are. Second, they can constantly keep update with technology, things that we cannot afford inside the community. And third, when we need medical care that we cannot immediately offer in the community, we have contacts with the hospitals, and we have doctors that owe us in all the local and regional hospitals. So that's very, very important. So again, it's difficult to say how much is inside. We always find a way in which everything we do, whether it's outside or inside, finds a way to interface and be useful, both for us inside the community and for what we are trying to do to change society around us.
Are your doctors specifically trained in Damanhur, or do they come with medical training of one sort or another?
Well, the doctors that you saw there, one of them came with medical training. The other one joined Damanhur when she was very young, so she graduated, that she was already a citizen. We have 3 more doctors who were already doctors before coming to Damanhur, and now we have 2 of our second generation Damanhurians, 2 young women that are studying to become doctors. So this is
again, in relation to the credits, one thing I'm curious about, you were describing what the spiritual foundation of the credits is. You said you're trying to get at the mystery of money, and
well,
I'm just curious if there's any ways you frame what the money is about in different ways in the mainstream society.
Well, the whole idea is that you're creating money that is not meant to be accumulated, but it only has a value if it keeps circulating. That's the number one reason for creating this. And the second is because you can only use it on things locally, then you are constantly helping the people there because you become a preferred buyer of those products because you can only use it for that. So those two values are really
Very practical.
very practical. If you're interested in this topic, there's a wonderful book by Bernard Leater. Do you know him? Yeah. Well, you find it also, actually, you can download it for free from the internet. I think in one of these online libraries. It's called The Mystery of Money.
Okay.
And it goes into this very interesting analysis of how the money that we use now in countries is very young. So, and in order to have a balanced system, we need to add a form of money that is yin. So if that would be the money that constantly circulates.
Okay, thank you.
Very, very interesting.
So you mentioned that each home or community within Damanhur has its own set of values. So I was wondering how these homes and communities are formed, how do they come together?
No, the set of values are shared by the whole federation. Each community family would have different objectives according to where they live. For instance, if they live in the middle of the forest, then one of the objectives normally is to take care of the forest. If they're ones that have houses, they're more in contact with people that are not of the Damanhurian community, so they're in the villages, they would be to intertwine relationships with them. So according to where they're located, the objectives would change. Because we have a very strong characterization with the territory on which we are. We feel that it's a very fundamental value for us humans to be in relationship to the land, to the nature that it contains, to the forces that are there. We don't consider our homes just places where you go sleep and you leave. That's not enough. You need to build a relationship, whatever is there in that environment.
So when somebody new comes to Damanhur, can they choose where they want to live?
They can choose according to the openings. So there is some change that happens constantly, organically, and then there are times in which there's big changes. Like now, we had 80 different people move. So there was because of this agriculture project, the people who lived in our farm were changed, and there were many people. So because there were so many people changing around agriculture, the people who managed Damanhur, they said to everyone, hey, if you want to move now, let us know, because then we have a map of everybody that wants to move and becomes easier for the whole community. So that's how it happens. So we've had about 80 people, which is a lot of people, moving in the last month and changing their home. I don't know who was first between the two. So please.
Please talk about the mystery school of Damanhur.
Yes, so Damanhur is a mystery school, and the community is the result of the mystery school, and also the ground in which we can see if this spiritual achievement that we feel we are reaching really translate into something real. So it's a school of initiation that is based on ritual and is based on the belief that every human being has a human spark, as a divine spark, so that we have a human nature and a divine nature, and we're bridges between the material and the spiritual planes, and that is what we really have to fully reawaken. How do we reawaken that? Through the others. They are a mirror for one another, because as humans, we are really cells. Each one of us is a cell of a larger body, so you can really fully reawaken your divinity in constant relationship with others. And we fully believe that these are not times in which enlightenment can be reached individually, but collectively. So I'm sure you're familiar with this beautiful Vietnamese monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. He wrote, the next Buddha is not going to be an individual. The next Buddha is going to be a community of enlightened individuals that live together in loving, sharing, and kindness. So this is a very deep belief of our mystery school, the idea that is a collective awakening, and that's what we're trying really to do, to awaken collectively and create enough of a mass that then we continue to awaken other people, as well as animals and trees and nature. So rebuilding a complete relationship with nature, because Not just because without nature we cannot live physically, but because the trees, for instance, hold parts of our soul that we have forgotten this. That our human soul is not just here, it's part of it is in the trees, it's in the animals, it's in the whole environment. So we live in an ecosystem of forces, of divine forces, and we are at the moment the smallest one, as the bridge, because we live in matter, but we have a divine nature. So our school is about this, recreating this sacred bond between our material and our spiritual nature, and reawakening the full ecosystem. So the matter itself can be divine. One of the very important projects that we've started 1 year ago, it actually started in California. So I would like, Wendy, would you like to sit for a second next to me? Because I will ask you to speak about this. That is very important and spread around the world, that is in line with, you know, what is our mystery school about. It's been a project of recreating a conscious alliance between human beings and the trees. As humans, we have cut down 50% of the trees of our planet. Not only cutting down the lungs of the planet, but also really cutting the memories, the holders of our own memories and big parts of our human soul. So there is a big divide, a big wound, between us and the trees. And we felt at Damanhur, this already years ago, many years ago started there, that unless we recreate an alliance with those intelligences and those essences of our planet, again, we're not going to have a future. In order to have a future, we need to work together with all the intelligences and the consciousness that live on planet Earth. And that of the trees is very important. So last year, through deep meditation work that we did here in California, using the selfie cabin, the temple that is at Wendy's house, we reconnected to a project that our mystery school started 25 years ago in Damanhur, of, we call it orienting the trees, connecting the energetic matrix of the trees, one tree after another, and reorienting them with us, humans, so that the trees can fully awaken to their full presence on our planet and start interacting with the climate and also with us humans, so that we start thinking in a different way. Am I making sense, or is it too straight? And Wendy, would you like to say something about this? So I rest for a second. You say something really of this tree work.
I will say it's always hard to really put in words what is happening. And I think sometimes this is a realm where poetry can begin to say as much as science. Because what the Selfika touches on, for me, is that realm that's beyond what we know. So I would call these instruments, I speak of them not so much as like psychic subtle energy tools, but somehow this technology has captured a spiritual tool. And in the act of orientation, it's almost as though the energy of an act of asking for forgiveness actually transmits through nature, through the trees, through our relationship. And something wakes up. It's really extraordinary, the journey that I've been on doing it. Is because it's a very simple thing of taking one of these special remembered tools, which is a mystery in itself, around the trees. And in the beginning, we added little things to make it more interesting for us to do it, like looking into each eye and the other's eyes and passing it around. But all that's really necessary is for the tool to go around the tree. And after about 50, when we first thought we had to do 300.
We did 6,000 just
but
here in California.
Something happens around, for me, around 35 to 50 trees. It's as an energy happens. All of a sudden, the trees seem to be calling me. And the energy of the forest is inside me and whoever is with me. It's much more fun to do it with someone else. Well, we are sort of our own forest of trees. And And then a relationship develops. And I've discovered that trees are a lot more than I ever thought they were. And it's really for our own personal exploration to find that poetry. But they almost begin to have something to say. And shamanically, it's always understood that they hold memories. But it's not necessarily just about memory of who I was a child. Though when I did the tree in New York, right near where I lived, I haven't thoughts of myself and our baby's prom for like ever. And I was having all these thoughts. But when there's a retrieval of the memory, it's almost as though we go beyond our personal self and we re-knit with something we've lost in nature. And as we re-knit ourselves, we almost are re-knitting ourselves with aspects of our soul that we've lost. And something wakes up, and we become more aware of who we really are, which is way more than a temporal being. We are beings that exist outside of time. And in the reconnection with nature, and the reconnection with what nature has not forgotten. And in this work with the trees, it makes it easier for more people to do this. And we are, this community that we always look for outside, is really inside of myself as much as outside. It's part of our nature.
So we're working on a website that which will be called the Global Tree Network, where we're going to put all the story of the trees and what happened. At the moment, we have a Facebook page called Global Tree Network. So if you're interested in seeing what we've been doing with the trees, and it's been done all over the world, in all the continents, that 6,000 trees have been walked around in the Amazon forest in Brazil and in Venezuela, everywhere. This is taken off everywhere. That's where, and of course we have a Damanhur website, and there is Damanhur Facebook, where you can ask many questions because there's people that's constantly answering. And we had one more question, is that it?
So how many more trees do you think we've done?
Oh,
Or a minimum of this amount?
yeah, well, there are
Not us.
millions,
the world.
there are millions of trees.
Can we come to your
We'll
workshop?
take one more question.
Yes,
we need
yes, we need, yes.
You know, I was just so fascinated, having read the coffee table book you mentioned, reading about Selfica, reading about...
You have read?
Yeah, and
Oh,
the name
thank you.
Damanhur coming from Atlantean consciousness. I was very curious, what is Atlantean consciousness? There's so many answers to that. I'd be very curious as to yours. And then the jewelry here, is it
1 minute.
connected to the... You said the temples themselves are the largest Celtic instrument.
Yeah.
So, so every piece of Selfica, is it all connected? So,
Yes.
And if that's too many questions, whatever you feel you
So
have
I
time
don't
for.
understand which one was the question, though.
The question is, well, I guess about Atlantean consciousness and using Selfica to discover that. So, what is Selfica? You know,
But is Selfica or the connection with Atlantis? They're two different things.
I know, so I guess I can't narrow it down.
Selfica,
I'm interested in the connection to Atlantis.
the connection with Atlantis. Very quickly, we believe that this is not the first cycle of humanity. And there's been a cycle in the past in which on our planet we managed to reach, as humans, an incredible level of civilization, both spiritual, technological, social, and this coincided with Atlantis. Then Atlantis had a decay, and Atlantis was destroyed. But in order for us to fully fix some of the problems that we have, we needed to recreate the complete timeline. We need to bring the awareness of Atlantis back into our collective consciousness, because that part of time has been completely cut off. I mean, the Romans ended, but we know they existed. Like Atlantis ended, but most people don't exist. Once we manage to do that, and part of the spiritual work of Damanhur and the work of Selfica goes in that direction of fixing this timeline, we will start finding things, objects that will prove the existence of Atlantis. And all of that heritage will become part of us again. The memories will reopen. And then we will much more fully know what we are as human beings and what we've done in relationship to the cosmic family of humanity. But that will not happen if we do not grow. Otherwise, we will always be stuck with that story of the end of Atlantis that many of us have in our memories as the trauma, without being able to go back to where it was before the trauma, when we were the splendid center that was the center of the galactic empire. And in our understanding, and this is totally sci-fi, one of the reasons why humanity has not been wiped out of this planet yet is because we proved once that we could do it. And so the heritage of Atlantis somehow is playing out in our favor. We have proved that humans on this planet can live without destroying everything, except that we forgot how. So bringing that back is very important for this. Thank you. I know we could have any more. If you're really interested in all of these aspects, we're offering a weekend seminar on all of this weekend in Santa Cruz, in Scotts Valley, actually. And if you're interested, you give us your email. We'll email you immediately the information and everything so that you can decide if you want to join us.
Also, before we say thanks to Esperide for this wonderful presentation, I want to say that like 5 years ago, we almost put together a class of CIS to visit Damanhur together. It didn't work out finally because the euro-dollar
was a disaster 5 years ago.
at the time, and but if there is interest, I know many of you are CIS students, please communicate to the West Department, to Anna, to myself. My name is Jorge Ferrer, and I'm Ikeda, program coordinator. Show us your interest because we could potentially put something together for probably spring 14, so within the immediate would be like for next year.
That's wonderful.
But we have a draft of the curriculum and the possibilities in Damanhur for internships, field work, like you could go into the more metaphysical training, you could go into more health, integral health, you could go into more ecological sustainability. Esperide also mentioned like you could also go into learning how to build spiritual communities. So there is a lot of interest that fit with what many of us at CS are interested in. So please tell us, let us know, and we could make it happen. Yeah, and it would be a great way to, and of course you are encouraged, highly encouraged to visit Damanhur on your own anytime.
Yes. And if you do, I would appreciate if you let me know, because then if I'm there, I can come and say hi. I would just like that.
So thank you so much, Esperide. We have brought some